Hello Summoners and welcome back to another ProGuides video. My name is Nathan Ng and today we'll be discussing the counter picks to some of the more popular OP champions on patch 11.19. We'll be going over the runes, builds, and playstyles to effectively counter specific matchups. So the next time you run into one of these characters, you'll have the game knowledge and confidence to bully your opponents. Though we don't really condone bullying here. Our first matchup that we'll be talking about is Lilia as a counter to Sett. Despite Riot's attempt at nerfing Lilia, she's still a pretty solid top laner, especially against Sett. Sett's entire kit is about going in for big trades and using his W to turn burst damage against him to nuke against his opponent. But Lilia doesn't play that game. Instead, she does damage over time with her Q spam and her passive. As a result, he never really gets to go for a fully charged W like he would be in more scrappy matchups. Aside from her trading pattern hard countering him, Lilia is also built for kiting, and considering Sett is a lumbering juggernaut, he'll struggle to ever really land any hits on you. Now for the build. For your runes, take Conqueror, Presence of Mind, Tenacity, Last Stand, Bone Plating, and Unflinching, with the Sett runes being Ability Haste, Adaptive Force, and Armor. For your items, you'll be starting off with the Doran's Ring and then rushing Liandry's Anguish. At this point, you'll probably want to pick up an Oblivion Orb. After that, grab Lucidity Boots, Demonic Embrace, and Zanya's Hourglass. Then go for Cosmic Drive, and then upgrade that Oblivion Orb to Morellonomicon. One thing that you could change in this build is rushing Frozen Heart as your very first item. This generally is a good idea if the enemy has 3 or more AD threats. Having solid counterpicks is definitely an important part of winning in solo queue. If you're playing off the back foot from select, odds are already bad, but there's more to it than that. You also really need solid fundamentals if you're actually trying to climb, because you could win lane and probably still lose the game. Whether you're new to the game or you just have years of bad habits, it can be really hard to find direction on your own. Our top tier coaches over at ProGuides.com can help you figure out exactly what you need to work on. They're available 24/7, so it's never really a bad time to come and try one out. I promise, there's at least one that specializes in exactly what you're looking for. These guys have spent years reaching the top of the ladder, so why wouldn't you want to steal all their solo queue tips and tricks? All you have to do is click on the link in the description. Now let's get back into the video. Our second top lane matchup is Shen into CAMILLE. CAMILLE is a super dominant top laner since she can win trades from both range and melee distances, but Shen gives you a pretty solid answer to everything in her bag of tricks. It's pretty simple really. If she goes in for a W, you taunt in and force her to trade, using your Q and drag your sword through her for some serious hard-hitting autos. When she goes in for a Q, activate your W and she can't land that oh so crucial true damage that makes her so oppressive. As the game goes on, you'll be able to keep up the splitting strength since Shen itemizes pretty aggressively. Now speaking of itemization, let's go ahead and talk about the build. For your runes, run Grasp with Undying, Shield Bash, Conditioning, Revitalize, Cheap Shot, and Ultimate Hunter, with the Sett runes being Adaptive Force, Armor, and HP. For your items, you'll be starting off with the Doran Shield and then build Sunfire Aegis, Steel Caps, and Thornmail. With that done, your next item will be Titanic Hydra, and your last 2 slots are up to you based on your game's needs. You can go for Anathemas next to continue dueling Camille, or opt out for Randuin's and Abyssal Mask for team fighting. Now taking a look at the jungle, our first counter pick is Kindred into DRAVEN. DRAVEN has been a really strong pick lately, and while you can't really keep up with his gank tempo, that's okay. This matchup is good because in 1v1 situations, there's very little that he can do to you. If he tries to EQ combo you, just Q and hop out of the way. Then it's just a matter of kiting him in your W with your E and Q until he's dead. Being able to take him on 1v1 at pretty much all stages of the game means that you can go for whatever marks that you need, as long as the laners don't really have a say about it. Post 6, his ultimate is useless against you. Enemy traps in a mobile ally in it, your ultimate can help buy them some time to survive whatever the enemy team throws at them. For your runes, run Press the Attack, Triumph, Alacrity, Coup de Grace, Sudden Impact, and Ravenous Hunter. The Sett runes being Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and Armor. For your items, start off with the Ember Knife and then build into Kraken Slayer, Berserker's Greaves, and the Collector. Next up, you want to have Infinity Edge and Lord Dominic's Regards. If the enemy team is stacking a ton of armor, it's fine to go for LDR first. Top off your build with the Bloodthirster, Mortal Reminder, and Mercurial Scimitar. Our second pick is Evelynn as an answer to Echo. This one isn't so much a hard counter as most of the picks on this list. Mechanically speaking, Eve can't just run all over Echo. In fact, he'll beat you in most, if not all, early game 1v1s. Instead, this is a good pick because you'll slow his early game tempo to give you some time to scale. Evelynn's pre-6 is basically useless, but since most Echo players just farm hard early, you don't really need to worry about the enemy jungler just blowing up the game before you can even get off your first gank. Now for the build. For your runes, run Electrocute, Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, Relentless Hunter, Absolute Focus, and Gathering Storm, with the Sett runes being double Adaptive Force and Armor. For your items, start off with the Hailblade and then buy an early Dark Seal. Build into Sorcerer's Shoes and Rocket Belt, and if you're already at max stacks, upgrade the Magi's right away. If not, build Lichbane first and then upgrade it. After that, you'll want Void Staff and then Rabadon to top things off. Next up, for the mid lane, we'll be starting off with the Nivea into Yone. If you play this lane right, Yone should never be able to touch you. If he tries to use his E and his third Q to go in, you simply just throw a Q at his face, E, and then auto to proc Electrocute, then just flap away. With him being unable to touch you in lane, you'll basically be free farming as one of the hardest scaling mages carries in the current meta. Now for the build. For your runes, run Electrocute, Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, Ravenous Hunter, Presence of Mind, and Coup de Grace, with the Sett runes being double Adaptive Force and Armor. For your items, start off with Adorn's Ring, then buy an early Tear of Goddess, and then build into Landry's Anguish and Sorcerer's Shoes. After that, you want to pick up an Oblivion Orb and then upgrade your Tear into Archangel Staff, which at this point should be at or near transforming into Seraph's Embrace. Next, you'll want to go for Rabadon's Death Cap and Void Staff, then upgrade that Oblivion Orb to Morellonomicon. Our other mid lane matchup is Pantheon into Uxin. Uxin has become a super powerful mid now that people know how to use him right, and if he's allowed to get a lead early, he usually just runs with it. Thankfully, Pantheon allows you to easily shut him down, since you can completely smash him at all stages of the game. Well, all stages once you're level 2. You'll definitely want to have both your Q and W before you fight him. Just trade with your passive stacks and then always be in the lead with Empowered W, then auto a couple of times and get the Empowered Q in. Once you get rolling, you'll be able to one-shot him anytime he's in range. Now for the build. For your runes, you'll run Conqueror, Triumph, Alacrity, Coup de Grace, Eyeball Collection, and Ravenous Hunter, with the set runes being double Adaptive Force and Armor. For your items, you'll be starting off with the Corrupting Potion and then build Eclipse and Plated Steel Caps. Most Pantheons go for Cleaver second, and while that is generally a good item, if you specifically want to beat up a squishy like Uxin, you can just go grab Youmuu's and then go for Cleaver. After that, build into Death's Dance and Styrax Gauge. Moving things down to the bottom lane, our first counter is Yasuo into DRAVEN. Yasuo is already just a strong bot laner in general since his wind wall blocks pretty much everything that ADCs throw out, and he's especially good against DRAVEN. When you wind wall DRAVEN spinning axes, they don't bounce back at him, they just get consumed. And once DRAVEN doesn't get those axes, his autos aren't all that scary, and you can just go for an all-in on him. The same thing basically makes DRAVEN pretty useless in teamfights. You can eat up his axes and even block his ultimate with a well-timed wind wall. He either has to sit out of the team fight for several seconds or risk coming through the wall and getting the damage out. Now for your build. For your runes, you'll be running Conqueror, Triumph, Alacrity, Last Stand, Bone Plating, and Unflinching, with the stat runes being Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and Armor. For your items, you'll be starting off with Adorn's Shield and then build into Berserker's Greave and Zeal. You won't be upgrading Zeal for a bit, you're just sitting on it because it gives you a ton of value. Next, you're going to be building Immortal Shield Bow and Infinity Edge. After that, you'll start upgrading Zeal into Mortal Reminder, and then go into Death's Dance, and top things off with a Bloodthirster or Mercurial Scimitar. For me as a bot laner for the longest time, DRAVEN was the one champion I could never really deal with. It's not like he was the strongest pick in the game. I mean, until recently, he was pretty average, but I don't really understand what to do. I don't know if it was just me not knowing how to play the lane or just not knowing what champion to pick, and it was really, really frustrating. And that brings us to today's question of the day. What's a champion that you really struggle with? And for me, another one is probably Lux. I don't know why, I just can't beat her. No matter who I play, I always get hit by her snares, no matter how good I am at dodging. Anyway, let us know down in the comments down below, and maybe we'll be able to help you out. Now, let's get back on topic, shall we? Our other bot lane counter is MF into VAYNE. VAYNE is indisputably the best ADC right now, with strong laning and basically unbeatable dueling at later stages of the game. She's the one marksman that could hold her own against power picks like Camille and Fiora when played well. MF works well as a counter because for one, she's an incredibly strong lane bully. Your goal is to poke VAYNE down with your Q and then keep trades short and sweet so you can go ahead and win out thanks to her love tap passive. On top of that, you can't hope to match VAYNE's DPS when it comes to just autoing targets, but you can make up for that with MF's ultimate. Your goal is just to find the best position that you can in teamfights and just let it rip. Good luck using Tumble to outplay that. Anyway, for your build. For your runes, you'll be running Press the Attack, Presence of Mind, Bloodline, Coup de Grace, Absolute Focus, and Gathering Storm, with the stat runes being Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and Armor. For your items, start with the Dorn's Blade, and then build into Kraken Slayer, Berserker's Greaves, and then the Collector. Your next two items should be Infinity Edge and Lord Dominic's Regards, with the order depending on how tanky the enemy team is. After that, you'll top off your build with Bloodthirster. Now for our supports, our first pick we have is Amumu as a counter to Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank has been rising up in popularity lately. The meta is really good for him since most other supports being played are pretty squishy, plus he got a buff back in 11.15. But while hooking an enchanter may be a free kill, when he's hooking you as a Amumu, he's giving you a free engage. With addition to the double bandage toss, he's also powerless to peel you. If you Q into the enemy ADC and the Blitzcrank tries to hook you away, you just have to wait a couple of seconds and you can easily shoot your second shot. Now for your build. For your runes, you'll want to run Aftershock, Font of Life, Conditioning, Unflinching, Cheap Shot, and Ultimate Hunter, with the stat runes being Adaptive Force, Armor, and Magic Resistance. For your items, you'll be starting off with a Relic Shield, Rush Lucidity Boots, and then build into Locket of the Iron Solari, and then Abyssal Mask. Up next, go for a Ward Zone, and then your last item can be a situational one. The two best options in general are either Frozen Heart to play against AD heavy teams, or Zeke's Convergence if you have a teammate with good AoE damage to nuke the enemies with your ultimate. Finishing off our list, we have Sona as an answer to Lulu. This definitely isn't a lane counter. Lulu is way better at trading than Sona and buffs up a single carry a lot harder than Sona can. Instead, you're going with this pick because, while Lulu is good at trading when the fight comes to her, she's not really good at forcing trades. This makes her a low threat and gives you a pretty easy lane to scale up with. Lulu might be the god of turbo buffing a single carry, but you're just playing for the mid to late game team fights, where you'll be able to enable your entire team with your auras and then be able to CC the entire team with your ultimate. Now for the build. For your runes, you want to run Airy, Mana Flow, Transcendence, Gathering Storm, Presence of Mind, and Tenacity, with the stat runes being Ability Haste, Adaptive Force, and Armor. For your items, start with the Spell Thief's Edge, Rush Lucidity Boots, and then build into Moonstone Renewer. Then build into Staff of Flowing Water, Ardent Censer, and Wardstone. It's pretty common to see Kemptic Putrefier after your Mythic, but I find it to be more of an optional item. If others on your team have Grievous, then you'll be able to get a lot more value by building Ardent and Staff to buff up your teammates' damage output instead. That concludes our latest episode of Counter Picks. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure you sub so you never miss out on our meta guides, and you're always in the loop on what the best picks are. Remember, let us know what champion you need help countering down in the comments below. And one last thing, don't forget to check out our Discord in the description box below, where we can discuss League further or just hang out and be part of the community. Can't wait to see you guys back in the next video, but until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day. Peace.